Hey guys, hope you're doing well. I just want to go over a little bit of notes with you today about behaviorism. I know I mentioned B.F. Skinner before already to you and his famous psychological experiment. We'll talk about experiments more in detail next chapter, but I want to get this information to you, get you the vocab terms, the bell ringer, so you're prepared for tomorrow's bell ringer assignment. You can just submit it. Reminder, we're going to have our career paths in psychology presentations. We're going to have those on Monday. So make sure you guys are prepared for that. And please have that ready to go. Do not read straight from the slides. You're going to get hit points. All right. So make sure you guys are coming prepared to present this information, obviously, for the rest of the class. Okay. All right. So here's a bell ringer for today. Describe Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can draw and label the pyramid as detailed in class yesterday. Give unique examples for each step of Maslow's pyramid. All right, so like always, pause the video, write down your response, and we'll get to it. All right, so humanistic approach to psychology. This is viewing at the positive state, okay, that all people are designed to do positive things. And okay, it kind of contradicts Freud's idea of the unconscious mind, this pleasure principle pushing and guiding our characteristics, our personalities. All right, humanistic approach takes the opposite end. Okay, it takes more of a positive light that people are, for the most part, good in nature, good moral characteristics. Freud is too much focused on the dark side, right? So with the humanistic approach, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a big aspect of this approach. So as you labeled out with your pyramid, I think that's a great way to really understand his hierarchy of needs, just breaking it down in that pyramid and going up the steps, going up the ladder, if you will. So at the very bottom of this pyramid, we have physiological needs, right? This is warmth. Okay. This is water. This is food. This is oxygen. We need those physiological needs in order to survive, right? And that's why it's at the very bottom of the pyramid, because those are the absolute necessities in order to live. Once we have those physiological needs, okay, we can branch up to safety needs. All right. So safety needs, we know that this is going to help us feel safe, okay, protected. And this is, you can result as an example of a shelter, right? So our homes. And those two rungs at the very bottom of the pyramid are your basic needs, okay? Your physiological needs, your safety needs, okay? Moving up now, we have psychological needs. The first one is love and belonging, right? How we have relationships, how we have build-in relationships with our parents, right? Our brothers and sisters, our relatives, and then branching out to friends. So love and belonging, we need to make sure we feel wanted, right? We need to have that love and belonging in our lives in order to reach that next step. Okay, and that's starting off the psychological needs. The next stage, right above love and belonging, is self-esteem. All right, so our self-esteem is what really has an internal love for ourselves, right? What makes us happy? Okay, what we do that makes us happy. And this is this feeling of accomplishment. Okay, this is maybe getting an A on your test. This is maybe doing something, let's say an extracurricular activity that you love to do, that it brings excitement into your life. And this makes your life worthwhile and makes you feel accomplished. Right? For me, sports, athletics were huge. And this is something that I really love to dive into. All right, then finally, the last stage, which is your self-fulfillment needs, is self-actualization. And self-actualization is just really at the end of the night, you're looking back on your day and said, yep, I checked off all the objectives, right? I accomplished everything I set out to do. And this is something that maybe is an activity that we partake in that kind of winds down our night once we've accomplished everything, and you're almost rewarding yourself in a way. So I like playing video games. I like to really wind down reading a book. Okay. I like to watch videos. I like to watch movies. Okay. Forms of entertainment like football and sports. Okay. And this is something that we look back at and said, yep, I accomplished everything I need. I got all my homework done. I accomplished all of, let's say, my assignments for class today. Okay. I had a good practice at after school and my extracurricular activities. And obviously, I reached this love and belonging at home with my family, my friends. Things are going well. We all were meshing today. There was no fights or conflicts with one another. Obviously, we partake into stuff that we enjoy, this self-esteem, and then finally we just relax at the end of the night and just wind down and realize that we checked off everything we set out to do. All right, so that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, again, if you want to draw it out on a pyramid, that's great, and give certain examples for each stage. But make sure you know those basic needs, those psychological needs, and that self-actualization, self-fulfillment needs. All right, so that's a humanistic approach to psychology. Real quick, I want to give you the terms for today. All right, so I forgot to give you Sigmund Freud. I don't know how I did that, but here's Sigmund Freud. We will be talking about him in the upcoming chapters because a lot of his theories, his beliefs is recognized in psychology, especially with the history, the basics of psych. Right, you already went over humanistic and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Today is behaviorism, B.F. Skinner. All right, so I'll let you guys write those two terms down. And then, well, if you didn't write Sigmund Freud down, please write that down. Right, you can pause the video and do that. I'm going to keep moving on. All right, so the behavioral approach meshes real well with the cognitive approach. And this is really how we react to certain stimulus. And with the behavioral approach, especially, this is how the environment really just makes our personalities, our characteristics, okay, how we react and how we fit into certain environments, depending on what stimulus is presented and how we react to that certain stimulus. Okay, we all react differently. And this is almost basing off that idea that fight or flight. Okay, and with the fight or flight, it's either we're reached with a conflict, are we going to fight back, or we're going to bail, we're going to run away, right? So B.F. Skinner, he is famous for his famous experiment with rats, and he also did pigeons as well. Okay, I won't talk about that too much, but you'll see a video attached to this lesson page where you'll see and understand exactly what he was trying to pick apart with his behavioral approach. So B.F. Skinner, he created this experiment with rats, and he actually introduced positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Okay, and we'll talk about some of those influences a little bit later in the chapter when we get to conditioning, because this kind of falls under this behavioral view. And B.F. Skinner, he trained these rats to stay on one section of, let's say, a cage. So he has a cage, right? And then on one side, he has a food dispenser. And then on the other side, if the rats would travel to the other side away from the food dispenser, they would be shocked by electrical jolt. All right, so B.F. Skinner trained these rats to stay on the one side where the food is. Once they click the lever, what do you think happened? Food dropped down. They ate it. They're happy. You name it. And rats, because they're curious, they're running around the cage or trying to look exactly where they can go, maybe get out of the cage. So as they're traveling to the opposite side of the cage, away from the food dispenser, he would introduce a form of negative reinforcement, which is like a electrical shock. All right, so as the rats would travel over, they get shocked and they run quickly back to the other side of the cage. And he let it go, and then if they click the lever, food would drop down, positive reinforcement. And he's trying to condition these rats to stay on one side of the cage where the food is located. And with that, he concluded that with proper reinforcements, whether it's negative, okay, with a shock electrical jolt, or whether it's positive, giving them a treat, giving them food, you could predict behavior. You can help establish a behavior that you are looking to establish, and you can resemble this to a lot of different things. Right? I know if I'm babysitting, one of the biggest things I do is give treats out, give toys out to some of the kids, and they pretty much listen from there on out. If not, I guess it's frowned upon to give a spanking or a smack, but I mean, that is a form of negative reinforcement that will obviously get the achievement you want, the behaviors you're looking to intend. I know when I was younger, if I ever made a mistake, I always got the brutal smack from my dad, or the wooden spoon, the terrible wooden spoon from my mom. It was terrible. I hated it. Real quick story about that. I always would get hit by this wooden spoon if I didn't do well in school or if I wasn't behaving right at home. And once I was getting older, probably like, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, my mom brought the wooden spoon over. She tried to hit me with it and it broke. And I said, oh, well, it didn't hurt, number one. And number two, look at that. No more wooden spoon unless she decided to stab me with it. Luckily, she didn't do that. So I thought that was a funny story. But anyway, we all understand what positive reinforcement can do to us if we're given a treat, giving a reward, and how negative reinforcement can shape our behavior as well if we are receiving some sort of backlash, right? Okay. So social culture review, last one here. Okay, we're finishing up the slides. We're gonna have the presentations on Monday, review on Tuesday, Wednesday test. So culture, okay. So sociocultural review. If you take sociology with me, this is one of the biggest perspectives, one of the biggest social science we're going to study and understand, and how this is a branch of psychology, and how culture really shapes us, who we are, right? And how this social learning, this cultural perspective, and social interactions shape us to the people, our personalities, our experiences, our memories, right? And help us shape the characters we are and our behaviors. And there's a lot of backing to this, obviously. We all know that cultures all around the world have different ways of obviously greeting each other, okay, with the way they communicate, the way they show different type of customs and traditions. It's all very, very different. And culture definitely shapes us depending on where we're located in the world and what country we're from, what community we're from. Okay, we can even just break it down to a smaller section. Here in Elizabethville is totally different than the way people live in Harrisburg. Okay, it's really short distance. It's only about a half hour, but we all can agree that Harrisburg's a little bit different lifestyle than here. All right, so levels of analysis. This is really just understanding what we went over, these perspectives, these approaches of psychology. We can all apply them to understanding a certain behavior, okay, where we can maybe reach an outcome. There's not just one way of studying and understanding, obviously, what we're trying to find a solution to. There's many different perspectives that we can use, whether it's behavioral approach, whether it's a psychodynamic approach, whether it's maybe understanding a situation through the humanistic or development approach, right? There's many different perspectives, and that's what this means by levels of analysis. All right, so psychology is blindness, okay? Many people argue and say, you know what, we're just too focused on the Western viewpoint of psychology. Okay, this modern style of psychology that's emerging from Europe and in the United States, right? We need to understand a little bit more from, let's say, Asian cultures, okay, maybe Middle Eastern, maybe African. Okay, there's a lot of different places around the world that study psychology that maybe we can dive into a little bit more. Okay, we just can't focus strictly on the Western viewpoint, on the European and United States versions of psychology. We need to advance a little bit more in detail. But with that being said, we study these Western viewpoints a little bit more because they incite a little bit more of experimental methods. Okay, the scientific methods just being applied into these Western forms of psychology that we respect. Okay, research is needed, right? We need to prove these statements, these theories, and to understand the mind a little bit more in detail. All right, those are perspectives we already talked about. And changes in psychology. We all know that psychology is constantly becoming more of a stronger field, a growing field in the social sciences because of research, because of the technology that allows us to perform experiments, understand the mind and behavior more in detail. All right, so that's all I have for today. Make sure you guys check out and work on your career paths in psychology. Those presentations will be on Monday. So please have those ready to go, and do not just read straight from the slides, and make sure you guys have APA formatting, APA citation. All right, guys, take care. Have a great weekend. Post your bell ringers. Have those career paths in psychology presentations ready to go for Monday. See you.